Hello everyone, hope you're very well. Today we're taking a look at how to create an animation like this in Rhino and with Vray and with Grasshopper in the Rhinoceros 5 or 6 environments, and how to make this dystopian city, quarantine city kind of way that we have going on at the moment anyway, and translate this to a visual effect like this. So let's roll the intro and let's get started. So to do this, we basically have just like a very normal MP4 data here at the moment, and this will be, we have to get this out of the Rhino file. So let's close this for now. So this is the file, basically how it looks in its raw form at the moment. We have all those different cubes, and they're actually at the moment not very textures. If you go to render view, we have a more defined view of it that can be more useful. But for the sake of time saving and still manipulating things, we are actually going to use the normal the normal wireframe or the render view, the shaded viewport. And as you see, it actually takes quite a lot of time to generate the view that we're going to have. But as you see here, this view can be accessed here as well, and it kind of gives us an idea of how the textures are and how the thing will more or less look like. So there are several things we need to take a look in here. So first of all, we have this line here, and there's another line over there, which will be the camera paths. Then we have so-called VR meshes, which can be used for V-Ray and can be imported. And then we also have a few people as well that can, I will show you in the link description down below, where those can be downloaded. There are 3 types of people, which are actually for free, and they can be also applied on a Rhino file as well. So, but first of all, how did we basically start with this? So let's get back to the wireframe view in order for it to be more usable. So as you see, I'll select the frame. It's really low because there's a high amount of things. And there, it's just very simply defined. So we have those kind of big boxes and those small boxes. And if you go to view here, you see those are just like the basic boxes, and they're defined by a rectangular box that is extruded upwards, and then there are points, and those points correspond to those boxes which have the same height. So that was quite basic to create. It's just basically a randomization, and then we took a look of where we can place those things the most effective way. So if we go to the Rhino, to the Grasshopper file, which we have open here, yeah. So I will just going through this, and I will actually deactivate some of the things here as well, because otherwise it will take too long to load. Yes, so basically we are having, if we go to the viewport here now, and we're just gonna oh yeah, one other thing though, before I show you the tutorial in the Rhino thing, is that there is a very useful command that you can use for your geometry in general in Rhino, which is the displacement function. So as you see here now, here we have just a very normal plane, but as you see, this plane kind of like, this texture is kind of like wobbly. And a way to get this effect, for example, this was the effect to make it look like a sea, like on the water anyway. You just go to the properties and then to the displacement tab here on top right corner, and here you can basically define a texture when you create a new texture, and then you can go to noise texture, and this noise texture is basically a so-called Perlin noise, which is basically just a random kind of droplets in the water and just a random height map of something. So this is a very good way of creating a displacement if you want to have it in your file as well. Otherwise, it would take quite a long time to create this kind of natural looking feel to it. Okay, now back to the Grasshopper file. So it is actually quite simple how we created those things. So we have a basic rectangle here that is defined like that, and in this rectangle there's just a random amount of points, those defined by here, and those points have an x and a y size, and those things then get extruded upwards, and then in this extrusion there will be points generated. However, those points I wanted the points to be random every time, so as you see it will be a different kind of seed. So we're actually creating a series with the seeds that gets put into the population here, and this also needs to be grafted as well. So it applies to every single one at a time. Furthermore, you also need to adjust the count as well, depending on how you want to have it as well. Anyway, then I wanted to create some boxes. Actually, this step might be overdue. You don't really need to have to do it, but I think you should, because if we are creating those boxes here, you see they are like everything has like a random combination of the boxes. But if we are not jittering it, basically, so if we keep it at a normal pace, let's just put it like this, they might look a little bit too much the same. So I'm jittering them in order for them to be more kind of randomized. And then actually we can just deactivate those and activate those things. In this case here, you see there is this symbol with this like play button, and it's basically it is a dam function, and this dam function helps a lot with if you have a big amount of data which goes from one point to the next point, you might want to have kind of like a cutoff point, so it wouldn't generate itself all over the time, because then your PC would constantly be calculating those things which might not be needed to be calculated. So we have this data here now, and it basically takes the boxes that we have in the beginning, and we are making a division of each of those surface of the boxes in order to place our little kind of shiny things on top of it. So those will be those are basically just points, and those points get some boxes on top of it as well. And then there's just like, I will not activate those because it would take quite a lot of time to make a mesh out of it, but this helps a lot with a smoother kind of way of using it in the Rhino environment, because meshes are a little bit more lightweight, let's say, and you can look at a lot of them at once. However, if you have a lot of surfaces, a lot of boxes which are defined as surfaces, you can run into the problem of having a lot of calculation amount and the like lagging kind of area. So it makes sense to sometimes convert things in the end into meshes. Okay, now that we have our little city kind of already defined, we're going to take a look at the Vray and the Grasshopper side of the things. So let's close this down. Okay, let's see. Let's take it to wireframe, and we will activate a few of those things in order for us to see it again. And we are making the things of Rhino in Grasshopper invisible. So here we have our basic shapes, and then we also have our little meshy things on top of it as well. I moved one there to the bottom because I want to have some more differentiation, but there are those two lines here So this one is, for example, the path curve, and this one is this is the path curve of the camera, and this one is the path curve of where to look at. So you basically, if you want to go, you can go on render tools, and then you click on animation tools, and then you click on setup path animation, and then you basically click this curve first, and then this curve second, and then it basically flows along this kind of state as well. So furthermore, so this was that part, and then let's actually hide some of those things for now, so we can focus more on the textures in our matter. Go back to the render view, and here, for example, we have a concrete texture setup, and we also have this little kind of fillet here in the end. You see, it's like kind of like around a curve, even though in this environment it's actually kind of a square. So you just get this very simple. You just go on this, click on properties, and go on edge softening, and then you just type in the amount of edge softening that you want to have, and also increase it. Obviously, you have like a more kind of round thing to it. It might not work all the time. It might need to be like a more, depending on the complexity of the mesh, it might needs to be a little bit smoother. But yeah, you can try out when it works best for you. And I did also the same thing with the lights on top of those things as well. Furthermore, we have the textures that if you go to the Vray asset editor, you go on this texture here, and you have if you click on this button here on the left, at least in the Vray 3.6 editor, you have the concrete textures here. Just drag and drop in here, and we just applied them to the big boxes basically, which are basically those things that we put those things on the layer. And we also created we also took it from the emissive ones here. We took just a light and applied it to those lights here, and had like a little more of a warm light. So then in order to get the animation going, you have to go to the options command here and go to animation, click this on, and also go to the render output and save the image to a file that you have somewhere. So in order for it to create those things, because in the end we have all those different files here, which if you click through them, you see you have the animation going. Then you also need to convert those files together, which I showed this in the last video. You can do this with After Effects very easily, and you just could convert them together, and then you basically have your finished sequence in this matter. I was talking of people before. For example, there are some very high detailed people that were used in this matter. So just go to this one here. As you see, yeah, this one, for example, you see it is a very high quality person. Actually, the name of the website I forgot the name of the website, but they have 3 people on that you can just use very, very easily, and they work perfect. They also have this texture applied to them, and they work perfectly in a render thing. But they don't move, but as a standstill thing, they work pretty well. And there are also, for example, trees, which we had one in here before. I don't know why it's not showing up. Might have been in a different. Yeah. So in this case, for example, we have this tree here, and it shows up as this very weird kind of polygonal model. However, I got a CG Access are offering very nice models that you can download. You have to pay for them, but they offer really nice high quality trees that you can import into the environment and look at the moment like this. But then when you render them, I just take this make this very quickly. You will be in the position of seeing those trees with more detail, because okay, now it's a bit too dark. Let's get a sun in here. Let's make it light. Yeah, you see, even though it is created as a rather simple, it's just like a very rough view. The tree will get more detailed once it will be in a real render, and then you can have an accurate representation of it as well. So okay, I think this will actually take too long if I render the medium. They're very high intensive in a way, so that's why you have like also those like materials here going on as well, those like CGX material 1 and 2. One is for the bottom part and one is for the top parts, and you can basically use it there as well. So okay, well, this takes a lot of time. Anyway, so I hope this helped you out. This is very useful if you want to make animations. It takes a lot of time to render it. For example, the animation that you saw before was rendered on a 8750H, and it took about like 8 hours to pump out those 200 images, so it takes some time. But if you reduce the quality, or if you reduce the amount of things that are in the scene, you can have a better result in your things. So nice. So yeah, thanks very much for watching. I will just take a look at the sequence again, and yeah, see you next time.